All right, very, very slow news week. I know I said that last week, but I'd be dying for some Kentucky Derby or Preakness news this week. But there was some pretty good racing action on the track as we get marginally closer to the Kentucky Derby. We're about 4.5 months away, or 3.5 months away, as I struggle to do the math off the top of my head. There's some nice performances, I think, of Muth in the San Vicente about a week and a half ago. We're moving closer to the Holy Bull and the Gulfstream Prep. So I think in the next month, the action will really start to pick up. But there was a maiden winner on Saturday at Gulfstream that I thought was very, very impressive. Didn't win by a lot, but if you watch the race and you see the trip that he had, you could see how impressive he was. And John Green and DJ Stable, who had a very, very good weekend at Gulfstream, winning several races. I don't know, like the strongest horse that you had a connection to might be this one. Why don't you tell people about another horse that might be in the Derby in a couple months?
Yeah, Joe. I mean, it was a jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring race. Conquest Warrior, who won. It got the worst of trips. I mean, if you watch the race, or if you watch the finish, you say, oh, he won by half a length, big deal. But if you watch the race, he broke dead last, had all kinds of trouble, got checked 2 or 3 times, depending on who you're asking, and then went 5-6 wide and zapped a horse at the end. But just big horse, big long stride, $1 million yearling. And I'm gonna sound weird when I say this, but when you sell a horse for a lot of money, it's obviously a good thing, but you hope that homebred goes to a good program. And certainly Cortland Farms, the owner, and Shug McGaughey, the trainer, have done everything right as far as not pushing this big horse until he was ready. He ran once at Aqueduct in December, and then they brought him down to Florida, and he just looks like the real deal. And I know, you never bet the futures. You never bet on a specific horse in January for the Derby. But Joe, I got to tell you, he ran a very impressive race. And Shug has been to the big dance before. He knows how to campaign a big 2-turn kind of horse. And I couldn't be more excited. Also, we have the 2-year-old half brother who's a Nyquist. And we'll talk to Elizabeth Massey, later on. But Nyquist, who stands at Darley, and that colt is named Brodeur after the very famous Devils hockey goalie, the Hall of Fame goalie. But I digress. Conquest Warrior, really super impressive. I would recommend watching the race. And I think he posted like an 83 or 84 buyer.
Yeah, I mean, it's like not indicative of how well he ran, and it's just so impressive because he's, like you said, he's a bigger horse. For a bigger horse to be able to get stopped multiple times in traffic like that, and then start his momentum again, and to be able to motor down the stretch like he was, not get discouraged. And you just watch Jose Ortiz ride in the horse in the stretch. It's not like he was riding the hair off him. Once he got him to the outside, he was just like, he knew he was going to run down that horse. And I think the runner-up is probably pretty nice for Todd Pletcher as well. Yeah, so he was crazy impressive. And it's interesting you bring up the future bets because a horse like Conquest Warrior is the reason that the field is favored in the future bets all the way up until probably the last one when you start to get more interest on the individual horses, because he wasn't one of the individual interests, and he pops up in mid-January in the maiden race, and now I'm struggling to come up with a horse that I think is more impressive. Maybe Fierceness is the only one that I've seen that's been more impressive so far, but he's right up there with them.